Basketball.
It's time to strap in and get ready. The Insight NBA team is in the arena, bringing you the ultimate play-by-play on who's hot and who's not to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now hooping with your hosts, Matty G, Skiddy, and Melly for the Insight NBA show.
Every so often, and I was just saying, without a shadow of a doubt today, we had the largest trade in what I believe is living memory as a basketball fan. And with me to celebrate the biggest trade in NBA history is two of the other biggest names in fantasy. Actually, one more so Kingy, and then me and Skiddy on the side.
No.
How are you? How are you, boys? Skiddy, you were saying you thought this was an absolute piss take when you first saw it come across the wire.
Honestly, mate, could not believe it. This was Sham's biggest trade, and as soon as there's no more Woj anymore, we kind of just sat there and we're like, well, I thought originally this was a piss take, and then I saw it on Instagram and went, oh crap, he genuinely means this. I can't believe that all this time the Dallas Mavericks has been trying to get rid of Maxi Kleber, and all they had to do was get rid of Luka Dončić to make it happen. Unbloody believable. This is you've had your ice cream, you're dousing up.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, everyone thought this was such a massive hack, or the Shams had been hacked. He then had to come on 10 minutes later and be like, no, this is real, it's happening. And then Bobby Marks had to be like, no, and validate it with like, this is real, was the first words that were happening because of the state of disbelief of NBA fans. Kingy, what was your immediate? Because can I quote you? Can I quote Kingy? Can I do a quote? In the Fantasy Hoops legend, the first call of you was this. Your first words are, is this real as well? Your first quote is like, this was just shocking to you.
Yeah. So I'd been out all day watching the Royal Rumble at a friend's house. So a couple of sneaky bourbons and some bacon and egg rolls for lunch. And
11 a.m.
Living life. It was good. And then I got home and games had pretty much wrapped up for the day. I thought, okay, we're done. I'm going to get ready, do my post-game show, do some blurbs. And then I think someone screenshotted it into a group chat or something.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And I saw it and I thought, no, surely not. And then I saw it was Shams. And I thought, okay, well, I mean, that we always say until it comes from Shams, it's not official. But then all the comments were, surely you were hacked. This is a hack. Mm-hmm. What's going on? And before we sort of, I guess, started reacting, we had to go and do some research. And you said, it was confirmed by multiple other sources before we actually believed that it was real. And in terms of the biggest trade, I agree. I think this is the biggest trade I've seen, or I've been sort of obviously working in this space. But and I think if not the biggest, it's certainly the most shocking. Like a lot of, we've had big trades, and you could argue maybe we've had big trades with as important or as prominent sort of players, but this one came out of nowhere. We didn't even have an inkling that this was coming. It just came.
Because this was the Dallas Mavericks 13 hours ago, putting Luka right all over their Twitter. It was Happy National Texas Day. And they've got the man stepping out of the vehicle, priming. So this was like, no one, even organizationally, seemed to have an idea that was going to be the case at all.
No. And I mean, the players have, it's come out that Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Luka Dončić, none of them knew this was coming. There's footage of Devin Booker finding out during the game and his reaction. And then we've seen players sort of tweeting out their thoughts. And so, look, it's pretty wild, but it's a fun way to start trade deadline week. That's for sure.
Skiddy, this is your, of course, a safe space for you where you can say those three words that you love saying most. Like, would you like to say it now?
No, honestly, no. This I am very, very on cue of being the person that hates the Lakers. But I'll tell you what, Rob Pelinka, bloody well done. He's saved his job. He's saved his line. I can't say the 3 words, G, because they've done a very, very
It's a
good
master
job.
stroke.
This sets up the whole direction of the team was, okay, we have AD and LeBron and nothing else. All of our other players are role players and have no direction. We have no future assets. We suck. Now they're like, well, we don't need our draft capital because we have Luka Dončić, probably one of the best players in the league under 25, probably the best, probably top 3 behind, Jokic and Giannis.
It's him, Shea. It's him and Shea. It's him, Shea. For me, it's you're bang on the money. It's Luka, Shea, and Jokic are the 3 best players in the NBA right now. I think.
Jeez, selling Giannis a bit short. He's been unbelievably good.
Yeah, I'm going to put him in the top 5. Top
Giannis
6.
has been playing better than his MVP season. But either way, so hats off to Pelinka. You've done well.
Yeah.
Look, your future is still dog shit, but at least now your future is dog shit with Luka Dončić, which makes it somewhat good and respectable. So hats off to him. Well done.
Yeah, Kingy, one of my big takeaways from this, and I'll probably do a little thing on this later. Like for me, unfortunately, this is hats off to Pelinka, but this is LeBron's leaving basketball soon. And it makes me sad inside because this is a trade. I think you hit a really side tangent here. Like fantasy-wise, we're going to talk about and just do a chop up on that in a second. But for me, we're in now a position where the Lakers are looking after life after LeBron because he has a player option for this year. And then he's always been like, I can retire. Like look at what he did today at Madison Square Garden. Against the Knicks, one of the best teams in the NBA with an AD-less Lakers to carry them over that in the Garden. Massive. And he can still do that. Now, it's not an every single night thing, but that is the magic that the King can do. And I think we're now looking at an option where if he can, and he says, I don't know how I'm still doing this after all this time. I think he amazes himself at this. That was his quote. And I was listening to his post-game because I was catching the end of the game. Like I had it playing in the car. I was driving with my son to the mall. We were meeting my mum and dad. It's nice family time. I had the game playing on the radio. And he was like, man, AD is all hats off to AD. AD is our last line of defense. You know what I mean? Like, we've got to be better defensively if we're going to ever be a chance. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And then this happens while I'm out at Macquarie Center. I was standing in a JD Sports store, but then it hits me that this is now life after Luka that Pelinka's set up for. So life after LeBron. And Kevin O'Connor tweeted this out last year that the Lakers had long had their sights on Luka, and they pulled the trigger on this Kingy.
Yeah, they did. And I think there's so many layers and so many different ways you can interpret this trade. The fact that the Mavericks instigated it is interesting. It's that sort of says, well, Luka had perhaps indicated to them that he didn't want to be there, basically. And they just thought, well, we've got to get something and we've got to get it now. They were supposedly, again, this is just what you read on Twitter, supposedly concerned about his ongoing injuries, and then his
fitness coming into the season.
Yeah. The money, like this is going to save them a lot of money in terms of he won't be eligible. He's going to lose over $100 million, I think, because I don't know how all that works, but so I think, look, in terms of the Lakers, it sets them up, and I guess their thinking is that, well, if we have Luka, we can probably just trade for pieces rather than have to draft them because players will want to come and play around Luka. And the Mavericks are, I guess they're looking at, hey, our window is the next 2 years, probably 2 to 3 years with Kyrie there. Anthony Davis he's not old. He's not young, but he's not. It's not like he's LeBron age or Kevin Durant age or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, Lakers clearly did came out of this one looking better than Dallas. But it's going to be interesting to see what Dallas do and what Lakers need a center now because they do not have anyone there that's really worth running out.
So my first question then comes back to you, Skiddy. Do they get Valanciunas? Because we know that was a thing and they could have had him and then they let that trade go. So you had the pipes right, that was a trade that was all set up, ready to be done. Yeah. And then the Lakers balked on it last minute for a reason. This might have been it. Where do you think they go now for a big?
Well, I know the ongoing one is to get Walker Kessler. I don't know how they get that done with the nothing that they have to offer. So I think, look, Kessler's a great one to get. I know that there's Valanciunas still in the pipe works. I know they're trying to get a Time Lord, Rob Williams, but geez, if they're happy with Rob Williams, he's not going to be out there. So, yeah, they definitely need a center because you can't feel happy about having Jackson Hayes out there by any stretch of the word. I mean, or Maxi Kleber. That, for instance, would also suck. So, yeah, either way that you stranglehold it, I think the Lakers are still buggered unless they make another move this season. Dallas obviously in win now mode. They are deep now, the Dallas Mavericks. The fact that they're going to have like PJ Washington, Dante Exum, Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench, and Lively. Oh my God. And AD. Oh, the fact that AD doesn't have to play center anymore, he is going to froth it.
Yeah, he's going to be really happy with that. That's a great setting for him. But let's talk about this depth that you spoke about. Lively is out for potentially now. Look, it was going to be a month, but this is going to be a long injury that he is out for. I'm probably thinking that he is closer to the 2-month period, which puts it deep in. Gafford, you said, was it in the last 2 weeks? He's been the number 4 player. I've got it. My whole NBA season in fantasy in one, I dropped Daniel Gafford because we even spoke about this on a pod, Skiddy. We dropped him when he was putting up like 1 block a game, maybe 4 points, 3 rebounds. I dropped him the day before Lively went down.
Okay.
And then I had to resubmit on the waiver wire, and I couldn't do that because you can't in Yahoo leagues straight go back to a guy that you dropped. And I missed him, and now he's this. I think he takes a hit from where he is right now because he has been the 4th best player in fantasy over the last fortnight. Kingy, where do you see him dropping out to? Because I see his projection now dropping well back for all those people who were very high on Gafford.
Yeah, look, I think he definitely takes a hit. Now, this is the 3rd show I've done talking about this trade, so I'm pretty across what I think might happen, and
okay.
Well, I'm still not sure what's going to happen.
Lay it out for us.
I think obviously Anthony Davis wants to play power forward. He's said that. He's come out and said that. So, but to me, because he was not involved in this trade and Luka was sort of the key, I suppose, to unlocking this trade, I don't reckon Dallas have actually had a word or spoken to Anthony Davis about whether they want him to play center. That will be discussed at a later date, I'm assuming.
Agreed.
The trade was not sort of pending or rely on Dallas saying, okay, you can come to us and we will allow you to play power forward. So I think they will still have some say in that decision. So I'm not sure whether he starts at power forward or center. And if he starts at center, Gafford's done. Because Gafford will come off the bench and he'll play 15 minutes or 20 minutes. If Gafford starts alongside Anthony Davis, I think he can still have value because Lively is injured. His rebounds take a hit. So do Anthony Davis's probably because both of them are good rebounders. So that will sort of determine, I think, the value of Gafford. Does he start or does he come off the bench? And then that sort of flows down, as Skiddy said, with that depth now. Does PJ Washington shift down to the 3 and then Klay Thompson plays the 2, Kyrie plays the point guard, or if Anthony Davis starts, PJ Washington starts at the 4, Klay Thompson stays at the 3, Max Christie might come in and start at the 2 alongside Kyrie, but then they also have Grimes and Dinwiddie and Dante Exum and Jaden Hardy. So
Najee
Marshall's there as well. They have a ton of depth now, especially in the backcourt. So I'm wondering whether they are going to piece a couple of those guys together and almost do like a 2-for-1. So maybe you can move Jaden Hardy and Spencer Dinwiddie for a really solid backup point guard. So there could be moves to come there, but I think until we get an idea of whether AD is going to start at center or power forward, that will then determine the value of those other players. But yeah, certainly I think Gafford takes a hit one way or the other. As does PJ. I mean, you've got an elite offensive center coming in, or power center or power forward. So
top 75 player of all time, one would argue.
You could argue that, yes. Some would argue it. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And then I have thoughts on the Lakers as well, but we'll cover the Mavs first.
Well, then, Skiddy, you compliment that. Where do you think it goes for Dallas? Because we heard King. Do you pretty much concur with that, or do you see possible other change there?
I love what Kingy just said. If you're a Kyrie Irving owner, you are absolutely laughing your ass off to the bank right now. All that he is doing right now is going to be able to stick and stay there. I think they should make one more trade. I'm on the side of I'm a little bit worried about Anthony Davis as well for fantasy because Kingy's saying, Gafford might take a hit, which I agree with, and PJ might take a hit. I think AD also might take a hit because he doesn't have to be that number one guy because the Lakers had no one. The Mavs are now.
I would call LeBron James someone. I would probably call LeBron as someone.
At center.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So Davis was the only one that was going out there for the Lakers doing anything at center. Now he has PJ. Now he has Gafford, and then he'll have Lively as well. And Najee Marshall can play the 4. They have the ability to actually rest AD a little bit more than the Lakers would have been able to afford to. So we may get to a stage where AD is also a guy that may only come back down to 28 minutes a night while they get him ready for the playoffs. So that's another way that we can look at it as well.
Yeah, I agree. Your instant thoughts. The one thing that I want to talk about is as well, the Lakers ended up getting more games. Now, I know a lot of people haven't spoken about this, and this is where I think this is really great. Maybe, I don't know if it's a buy low opportunity for, it sounds weird to say it's a buy low opportunity with Luka because the amount of usage is going to be up in the Lakers. So hear me out when we start talking about this for a second. I think what's kind of going under the radar here is with the rescheduling of the NBA games in the Lakers, they get 2 more games in the playoff weeks, which is important. You put Luka in for an extra couple of games come this time where the Los Angeles Lakers are really jostling position in a really crowded Western Conference, and you can get Luka now while he's still out. This is the cheapest you are going to get Luka for right now. Worries about his fit next to LeBron. And if they're not having how many games are left on that radar, you're going to get a bump right now in what you're going to get back for the rest of the season from Luka, especially when he's out for another week and a half, 2 weeks. So I see this as probably the lowest, like the buy low Laker option for Luka with these concerns right now. That's just a personal thing that I have and my approach in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, as you said, it's all unknown at the moment. And on paper, this Luka LeBron fit is pretty weird. Yep. Austin Reeves certainly is the loser in this situation, but we'll cover that when we talk about the Lakers.
Sit in the corner and shoot threes, Austin. That's all you have to do now, mate. You have got no more ball handling opportunities.
No, it's unfortunate. But Luka and LeBron are both fantastic players. Maybe they just figure it out, and it's a seamless partnership. We just don't know. So you're right. This is probably the opportunity to sort of sell that idea of, well, LeBron is still going to be the alpha here, so Luka's going to take a bit of a hit and he's not going to get as many shots. Austin Reeves is also there. So it's almost flipped the narrative.
Agreed.
To the point where LeBron and Reeves are going to impact Luka when we know that that's not necessarily the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Lakers-wise, where do you think happens now? We've touched on with the Austin Reeves taking a bit of a hit, well, a significant hit right here. What else do you think this shakes out fantasy-wise there, Skiddy?
Geez, they need to get a center before I can say anything because I just don't feel, even if Jackson Hayes is the number one center there for the Lakers, that feels awful to say. I hate that with a passion. Reeves obviously takes a massive hit. Dorian Finney-Smith look, none of these guys were fantasy options anyway, so all we do is have LeBron and Luka rostered. If you want to try for rebounds, then you can have a crack at Jackson Hayes. But God, if I was the Pelinka, I would be trying to trade Rui Hachimura for anyone that you can, even though that I don't think that he's great. But after today's game, that was a positive. So I'd be trying to trade his ass for anyone that I could. Any center.
100%. Any center. Name them. Name a center. We'll take them. We'll take them.
Hey, bring back Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard would be better than Jackson Hayes.
Dwight Howard's
39-year-old Dwight.
He is literally campaigning to have an NBA start in a second. He'd not even take the vet minimum. He'd go there for peanuts and say, I'm making my money in China. What are your takeaways there?
Dwight, I'd rather Boogie Cousins. I'd rather Nene. I'd rather Marcus Camby. I'd take a Hakeem Olajuwon at his age right now, doing better than what Jackson Hayes will be able to do for the Lakers.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's just bring him back. Well, Marcus Aldridge is probably making a comeback anytime now as well. He can
Blake
stretch the floor.
Griffin, I'll take him. I don't care.
Giggy, who are you looking at?
None of those guys for fantasy at this point. I don't think Marcus Camby's available. You'd have to contact Yahoo and have him added to the player list. But you're right. Like Jackson Hayes is not the answer here. So if they have any aspirations of doing anything this season, which I assume they do. I mean, they're sitting fifth or fourth or something in the West. So
I think they bumped up to fourth after this win today, or no, fifth. They're still fifth. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're still positioned to be in the playoffs here. So this isn't a situation where they're just okay. Eyes are on next season. We're packing it in. Yeah. So that would tell me that they need a center, and they will get a center because surely they have to be aware Jackson Hayes is not the answer. And Christian Wood is there, but he is not the answer. As we know, Christian Koloko is not the answer. Yeah. So, that in terms of the value moving forward, what we know is we've said it, Reeves takes a hit. He'll still be a 12-team rosterable fantasy guy, but he's going to be top 80, sort of just what he was last year. So still fine, but not that top 50 upside that we've seen the last 2-3 weeks. LeBron will be LeBron. I mean, he might do a little bit less, but I think he'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Beyond those guys, I mean, you're right. There isn't actually a lot of fantasy value on this team. Max Christie leaving, obviously that opens up something there potentially. Luka will come in whenever he returns. Do they? I guess the question here with the Lakers is, what is their mentality moving forward in terms of team philosophy? Are we purely going offense? We're going to outscore anyone, and we
they can't do that with who they've got. They can't do that with who they've got.
No, they can't. They can't. But that would probably so. What kind of a center do they target? Do they look at someone like a Nikola Vucevic or a Jonas Valanciunas? I don't think that they also now have no trade draft picks and very little in the way of assets to move. So I don't think they could get a Vuce anyway. But do they go out and get a defensive center? So a rim protector, just someone that can run the floor, dunk the ball, because then they might look at moving Dorian Finney-Smith into the starting lineup because he is at least sort of a defensive asset, much better than Rui Hachimura. So that will sort of determine the value of those guys like Rui and Dorian Finney-Smith. In terms of the centers that they could go after, I mean, you've mentioned a few. I think Mitchell Robinson, maybe they might look at him, but he's very injury prone as well, obviously. Rob Williams is, again, I think he's a perfect fit. It's just that he's never healthy. Although, in saying that, he does play for Portland, who fake a lot of injuries. So you have to wonder, how injured has he been this year? Or is it more of a Portland thing? I think Clint Capella's an interesting one. Because he is... They've openly talked about trading him away now that Okongwu is starting. I'm not sure, again, the contracts and pieces and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if they could make that work, but I think Capella...
They can with Rui.
Yeah, okay. So Capella's an interesting one. I think he's not the rim protector he was, but he's still, again, better than Jackson Hayes, better than Christian Wood, Christian Koloko. And then the other one, I suppose, who isn't really doing anything at the moment, he's just twiddling his thumbs on the bench, is Yusuf Nurkic.
Oh, my God.
Not a great fit, but
my God,
better than Jackson Hayes. Not a rim protector. Doesn't really fit what they're trying to do, but he's at least a big body that can stand in the middle of the key and can sort of stretch the floor. Not very well, but I don't know. They're pretty limited in terms of what they can do, but there are a few centers out there. So it's going to be an interesting 5 days to see what happens.
Yeah, and the Lakers only own a certain amount of their picks. In fact, they only own their 2026 pick next year, which they can't really get rid of at this point. They do have their first round 2028, 2029, 30-30, and 30-31. So they're really messing with incomings at the back end of this, like well down the track. And their 2027 pick that Utah already owns, which was like a massive asset, that's only 1 to 4 protected as well. So if it falls into 1 to 4, they keep that. They have a top pick to go in with Luka, but if it falls outside that, it goes to Utah. So they're kind of washed in that one, unless they want to start throwing it, because they've got theirs 2027 to Brooklyn in round 2, but all of their other ones for 2028, 2029, 30, they're all second round projections. So that's to Brooklyn, Orlando, or Washington, Brooklyn, and Brooklyn based on the back end of the D'Angelo Russell deal. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for them. It's throwing players out there like, do you want Gabe Vincent? Oh, he's Jared Vanderbilt. He can't score, but he can defend. Would you like a Jared?
Vando.
You know, they've got Vando. Like, this is all they've got right now because they're not running out a hell of a lot. Like, the fact that you've got a 40-year-old LeBron James running out there to get the team leading 11 rebounds, and he was out-rebounded by Josh Hart of all people, and somehow Karl Anthony Towns only grabbed 6 in a game without Anthony Davis is anyone's guess. But this is a team that's putting it together on the fly. Big takeaways for me. I think Max Christie can absorb some minutes over in Dallas very, very quickly. I think Austin Reeves, there's more hits to be taken away from this for these teams than a lot of gains, I think, apart from like at the top end there for guys like Kyrie Irving.
Yeah,
bang on.
Agreed. Yes, totally.
Well, thank you all for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll wrap it up right there. I am at NBA Gwiz. This is at SC Skiddy, and our guy and our good friend of the show at NBA. No, he's not. He's at Adam King 91. I looked down at my seat because I was going to say, don't forget about our brand new line of NBA fantasy wear. It is live in the web store right now. The link for this gear is down below. And now that it is February, I can proudly announce starting this week, 20% of all the profits that we make off these shirts are going to go to our good friend Dan Besbris's kids' school over in LA to help support them after the fires over there in LA. So whatever we make, we're going to take 20% of our profits out of this money. We're going to give it over to these kids over in LA who've lost their school and help them out. So make sure you jump on, like, and support that. Dan's going to announce it on his show this week, but we're going to give 20% of all the money we make from these back to the community because, look, man, I'm a teacher. I love education and I'm passionate about it. I don't want to get kids back in school really soon, whether it's here in Australia or overseas. Let's get them there. Make sure you jump down and buy something today. Cheers, everybody.